And I still didn't get our artwork out. I still haven't finished my taxes. uh, there's a lot.
Are you interested in hearing some of the themes that I've been collecting from the folks I've talked to recently?
Sure. Yeah, I'll hear it. Thank you.
So it's kind of a continuation of what we've been, a lot of themes we've been talking about over the past few weeks. Um, a lot of, I had another woman look me right in the eye today and say, I've seriously not wanted to be here. I'm struggling to want to live today, lately, off and on. And she was very on top of it to say, I wish there was more nuance in the English language because because she also kind of felt a need to rush to, don't worry, I'm not going to hurt myself,
Yeah.
but she recognized there's a limitation to how much the words that we all seem to know right now, or the way of talking about it. So it brought back that theme again that I know we talked about last week of like, oh my God, we need to. There's so many of us right now who are just absolutely struggling, and I felt a big celebration because one of the women that I've been in connection with over the past few months, and who has been one of these people that I've been thinking of, said, posted that she's like, it wasn't a breakdown, it was a breakthrough. I just realized it was a breakthrough. And maybe for some of us, it really is a fucking breakdown. And for some of us, it really is a breakthrough. And I, that that did sort of help me shift towards, perhaps I have been orienting towards breakdown, is what way I've been perceiving my experience. But it feels like in the past couple of days it's shifted to orient at least slightly more towards a breakthrough.
Mm.
um, and it really did feel extraordinarily validating when both Shayne and Azaria um, really seem to have a clear understanding of what we're doing, even just based on the little bit that we've shared so far. And so the wise ones, the ones who have been tuned in, the ones who have kind of maybe walked alongside us at some path, they already are seeing what we're building.
Mm.
And that felt like really good and really exciting. And they want in somehow. They're like, can we be on there too? Can we talk about this? Can we talk? Um, so kind of one of the ideas we've had is inviting our friends to come have conversations with us in this space, and they're asking to, yes, please, can we do that soon? So that felt really, really, really good. And they also were saying some of the same stuff that we've been experiencing, where I was like, I can't do anything in the mornings. I can't be anywhere, do much of anything before noon. And they're like, yep, same. And the forcing myself to fucking do it is what feels like self-harm. So I'm I really have cleared my schedule a lot in the past week, even more.
Cool.
um, yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed more like the words in my head are just like, I have cleared my schedule. I can barely do an hour of work a day. And I notice I am distracting myself and I'm not like doing things that I know I need to for myself.
Yeah.
And that feels like such a failure.
Mm.
Like here I am failing again, hurting myself again. Like, how many breakdowns am I gonna go through until I just break? Like, yeah,
Mm.
And also not wanting it to be like blaming. Like I just hear the old voices of like, well, it's because of borderline. Like my therapist did mentions like there's a reason for things. I'm like, and what the fuck do I do about them? Like another idea would be a segment, but like, and it would I would call it like, okay, but how? All right, how the fuck are we supposed to do this?
Yeah.
I actually had a really good chat figuring out podcast stuff. So
Mhm.
I'm I'm like if you want to do more of the YouTube end because you understand it,
Mhm.
I can do more of the audio podcast
Dividing
end.
conquer, I think, is really the way to go.
Yeah.
If we can just get you to a place where you feel at least confident enough that you're able to just throw your stuff up there, that's something I'm not able to do. But once it's on there, I can play with it, you know,
Yeah.
keep it as simple as possible. And each of us kind of orienting towards what we find most interesting and exciting. Um, because I'd like to minimize as much as possible spending either of us spending time doing stuff that feels crunchy or yucky. Um,
Yeah.
and just, so yeah, let's always orient towards how can it be as simple and efficient and easeful as possible, you know.
Yeah. I like that for sure.
Yeah.
Mm.
And honestly, speaking of like kind of timeline, like, oh, you mentioned, "Oh, I didn't do the art yet," or whatever. Like, please remove time pressure. If you ever feel like pressure coming from me, please call me on it so that I can check in, because sometimes it's actually just my excitement and like, oh, this is gonna be so cool.
I know a big thing I don't feel pressure, but I don't want to let you down.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I want to actually keep up and I know like when you get on something it's like yes you got it like I understand sometimes how hard it can be to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really feel strongly, like I have been hearing more and more that some of the teachers, I've really up leveled the teachers I'm paying attention to lately. For one thing, a lot of them are fairly new to me, but I can tell like these are like real up leveled. And one of the things I'm learning a lot about is genuinely how to move in the business world with feminine energy, healthy
Mm,
feminine energy, rather than the toxic, you know, perverted, not perverted, that's the wrong word, but like fucked up masculine energy. And honestly, a lot of fucked up feminine energy is really, it's just, I haven't had the opportunity to witness and experience kind of a healthy approach to business from a feminine space. And that's where I've been dedicating a lot of my attention lately. And one of the things I keep hearing,
yes.
one of the things
Mm,
I keep hearing is, I've been saying all along, like Piper used to pressure me, kind of like, why aren't you getting offers out? Why aren't you doing, and I'm like, I don't want to attract from the energy I'm in right now, because the energy I'm feeling right now is is real. and I
yeah.
and I do want to help people who are in that space, but I don't want to attract my clients while they're still in that space. And so this much slower pace that I've been having throughout the year, now I'm looking back and I'm like, okay, fuck yeah. So you're doing it too. You're doing it really, really well. You're keeping track of yourself and your process as you go along, and you're sharing it, but you're not you're basically, what I see what we've both been doing is like essentially building our library of how we ourselves as individuals rolled through this, right?
Mm,
And so we're not saying, hey, I'm going to teach you how, or I'm, do what I do. We're just saying, this is what I did. And what I see happening kind of on a larger scale is like, I genuinely can't engage with a lot of humans right now. Like, I just really genuinely can't. So, how can I still be of service? Exactly what we're doing. Like, you're in your room and I'm in my room, and we're still engaging at a level that, feels like it works for us. And then we're going to turn around and be like, hey, anyone else interested in how we're figuring this out? You're welcome to take a look. But I don't have to talk to you. Like, I could still have my own space and my own I'm not going to be buffeted by other people's energy and other people's trauma and other people's like misperceptions. I'm just like, this is what I'm doing. If you're interested, here you go. I'm gonna go back
Mm,
over here and go rest now. You know?
yeah.
So and we have the opportunity to keep doing things along those lines. And if I have an idea of like, say, oh, can I have Azaria and Shayne on the art of processing? And you're like, I love that idea and I don't think I'm available to join you because I just don't have the bandwidth, or please wait for me. I want to be there, you know?
Mm,
Those are the kind of conversations I want to have. Um, so that I have the ability to like think big and include you wherever you want to be included, but you also don't feel like you have to do everything that I'm thinking about doing.
mm,
Does that make sense?
totally. I appreciate you sharing that too. Oh,
Yeah.
I feel the difference in your energy just
Mhm.
you from sharing that as well. It just feels more like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that coming from a place of all that you said of like healthy feminine energy for
Mhm.
in business,
Mhm.
like and honoring that because I feel like you and I both have been trying to do the dominantly maybe unhealthy masculine
It's a
or
tough
unhealthy feminine side, and it's like our bodies are yelling at us and saying no, and that's why it's struggling, and that's why we like feel tortured. And
Mhm.
yeah, I love that idea, and also I really want to be on that call. I'm like, oh my God, so that feels exciting, and I'm noticing it's helping me get out of like it always feels like a funk. And I don't really want to identify it that way too. I'm like, something legitimate is happening when I get into these downward spirals, and I'm trying to play with it differently, for sure.
Like a fever. Because you know, like when a fever breaks and you kind of just suddenly go, wow, I feel better. You know what I mean? So
No.
no.
I think I'm usually too in my head and I think I'm dying.
Oh, okay.
So that's where it's like
Functioning. Yeah.
some of these things I feel so alien, and maybe that's my frustration today too. Like especially hearing stuff from self-help stuff or whatever. It's just like, well, if you have like, if you don't have a mental illness, then this will work for you. And I'm like, and then I block it off instead of trying it. I end up feeling worse than I am, or talking myself down, or focusing on struggles and that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, and it's challenging.
And well, and something that I just want to come to real quick.
Mm.
You just briefly mentioned like if you don't have a mental illness, then this might work for you. So what I think I heard you like referring to is the disclaimer we see all the time on fucking everything that like don't do
Yes.
this if you have a diagnosed mental disorder or you're pregnant or heart disease, right? Like that kind of disclaimer. Um and yeah, I find that so because the unfortunate thing is that frequently those things are genuinely beneficial for anyone, and they're just covering their fucking asses by saying, well, if you have any of these conditions, don't do this because I don't want you coming back on me and saying that it was my fault.
Mm.
So I think that front end fear of like litigation essentially has caused a lot of fucking damage.
And as somebody with a diagnosed mental illness, I definitely also recognize like with catastrophic thinking. And
Mm.
also with like I blame myself or sometimes I blame others. When it goes to those extremes, then it's like, oh, I can totally see how like I try to keep myself in check. I have more of a fear of being rejected that kind of like guides me along. So I try to keep myself more poised. But typically it's definitely like I still want somebody to show me the way, and I told him, I'm like, that's not how it works. Fuck. But I think a lot of people do feel that, so I think it is something like, hey, if you do have a mental illness, work alongside a therapist with this. Don't do this alone because it may trigger some stuff. Like I like that kind of
That
forewarning and stuff like that.